It's time to grow up.
So, Zuby, first thing I wanted to jump into is, there's an obvious connection here between the name of our show, Grow Up, and your experience in the last year. So, what can you tell the audience about, what you've experienced in this year of massive growth, and what do you want to change, based off of that growth?
Gotcha. So, what's changed really is just kind of by definition, more people knowing who I am. And as a result of that, more opportunities coming my way, chances to go on really big shows and do things like go on the Joe Rogan podcast, the Ben Shapiro show, Rubin Report. Tons of different podcasts I've done. I think I've done well over 50 interviews this year, as well as major media opportunities. So in the UK, I was on Sky News and various BBC channels, and then here in the US, I've had a chance to go on Fox News, Blaze TV, a whole bunch of different things. So I've stayed the same person.
Yeah.
I haven't changed. My overall message hasn't changed. I think it's become a little more honed.
Yeah.
Become kind of more.
You got more practice.
Yeah, more practiced, and also just kind of more confident in who I am, what my beliefs are, what I really stand for, where I kind of draw my own lines, and what I'm happy to put out there to the public. So that's taken a while of kind of growth and maturity, but I think this year's been a perfect time for lots of that attention to turn to me, because prior to this year, it would have been quite difficult for me, number one, just to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And number two, to
feel ready?
Yeah, to even deal with it emotionally.
Yeah.
And to go on these big platforms and not be worried about saying something like totally...
Saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, saying something that's totally stupid or
Yeah.
that really misrepresents me or anything like that. It's all happened at the right time.
Yeah.
So, but it's been amazing. I mean, being here in Tennessee now, and I did a meetup in Nashville last night and I just put out a message saying, if anyone wants to meet up, then...
That's the cool part of growth, right?
Yeah.
Is there's always connections that can be made.
Exactly.
That's one of the things that I feel like as human beings we've lost sort of touch with, is that natural human connection. We've started to replace everything with digital connection. Digital connection is great. I mean, that's the growth that we've experienced and you've experienced. But that, I think one of the great things that we get out of it is real human connection too.
Oh, definitely.
That's what I think the biggest change for me has been is I feel like I connect with so many different people now that I never had the opportunity to. Is that how you feel? Like you feel like you've gotten to get to know the world in a new way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with the whole digital thing, it can be all of digital media, social media. It's just a tool, and you can use it for incredible good, or you can also kind of wreck yourself or depress yourself with it.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of the human connections and the networking, it's important to do what we're doing and take that from...
Yeah, we would have never met.
Exactly.
Yeah, we would have met.
Exactly. We all connected through Twitter.
Right.
Obviously, you guys are married, so you knew each other. But I connected with both of you.
Yeah.
I don't even think...
But even us, we wouldn't be together if it were not for the internet.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because that's how they found my work, was through the internet.
Oh, interesting.
So, the internet has made so many connections, and especially in our generation.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't even think I connected with you both simultaneously either.
No.
Like,
No, it was separate.
Yeah, it was like two separate
Yeah.
things, and I was like, oh, okay, those
Right.
two are
They intersect.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I'm here in Nashville for the first time and hanging out with you guys and meeting different people, and it's been like that every city I go to now.
Yeah.
It's like cool. I've got friends, fans, supporters, even if I haven't met them in person yet.
Yeah.
We already know that we like each other and get on with each other.
You connect.
Right.
So I recommend for people, rather than replace real world interactions with social media, use social media to make more real world.
Right.
That's a
I love
great
that.
that's a great piece of advice, because just like any marriage, any really great friendship, it has to be built on some semblance of some foundational structure of agreement in certain areas. And I think that area nowadays, it's really your values. It's not so much that it has to be who you vote for, and it's a value set that I think you're gonna find traditionally means you have the same politics, but not always. But that value set, I think, is where you really figure that out. So I think that's a great piece of advice from Zuby, is use social media to, you know, build that foundational understanding of what do we agree on. If we have that base of agreement on values, we're likely going to have a successful friendship.
And that agreement can be agreeing to be able to disagree.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right. To have a
That
civil
in itself is
conversation.
valuable.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've got great friends who, on paper, would look like we're really
Diametrically opposed.
right?
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, they're a staunch atheist.
Yeah.
I might be more conservative leaning, they may be far more liberal leaning.
Yeah.
Various issues, we might take different sides on all these things, but personality wise, we really like each other.
Yeah.
Right.
We're both, you know, kind, gracious people who aren't just going out of the way to try to misinterpret each other
Right.
or take the worst version of the worst idea of you know, what that person believes or people who believe that thing and sort of caricature it or anything like that. So those lines and values, I think, can be they can be on so many different levels, but I think the ultimate one is just, you know, kindness.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then just being able to not throw a hissy fit and become really immature if you find out, oh, someone has a
Different opinion.
Different
about it.
opinion.
about
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
a-
always have to be a fight. It
No,
can,
no,
it
no,
can
not
just
at
be
all.
a
Absolutely.
discussion. And honestly, that's how we learn.
Did you have a defining moment where you grew up, like where you're like, okay, it's time to grow up?
I don't know if there's been a specific moment. I'd say there have been lots and lots of them. There was a moment that so anyone who's kind of followed me online, especially on Twitter, would know that in 2018 I started to voice myself a lot more.
Right.
I used to just use social media, think, okay, I'm a musician, I'm a rapper, I want all the focus to be on there. I'm not going to put up any potentially contentious or controversial
Right.
opinions or nothing political, not too much culture stuff, anything like that. And there was a time last year where I was having a discussion with someone, actually on Facebook. He probably won't even be aware that this was one of the catalysts, so inadvertently, kind of thank you. But he was someone who was one of the student union presidents at one of the universities in the UK. And we were having a discussion about free speech and, you know, the boundaries of free speech and that kind of thing. And I'm very, very pro free speech.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit concerned by some of the things he was saying. And we had this sort of public discussion on Facebook, but it ended up with him basically suggesting that people like myself should not be allowed on university campuses.
Wow.
Because my ideas, quote unquote, are regressive and could get people killed.
Wow.
Wow.
So words are violence.
I'm pretty moderate, right? So,
Yeah.
Right.
so I've seen some of this craziness sort of rising up over the past few years, but I was like, wow, it's reaching a stage where anybody thinks that my opinions and values
Are dangerous.
Right.
Are violent.
Yeah, or I was, you know, it was very. I'm sure that was hyperbole, obviously, but I was like, wow, that was
The thing is,
weird.
are you really
So-
sure it was hyperbole?
yeah,
Because
well, yeah,
now it seems less and less like it is.
yeah,
Right.
I don't know, but for me personally, I kind of reflected on that over the next couple of days. And this was someone who I've met before,
Yeah.
so who knows I'm not some extremist, or
Right.
Yeah.
I don't believe any crazy stuff.
Right.
So I was kind of like, man, is it getting to the stage where just having a difference of opinion, something
Right.
that's even still very
Yeah.
moderate, is considered so extreme that you shouldn't even be allowed
Right.
to go.
Right.
I was like, it wasn't like this when I was in
That's
university.
the craziest part is like,
Yeah.
I get when it's trolls on the internet, but when it's people you've met in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
And
That's
someone-
shocking.
and
That's
someone-
shocking.
That's what's shocking.
And someone who works at the university.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
wow.
that's what's
yeah.
So that was actually the point where I was like, you know what, this stuff is going way too far.
Yeah.
Right? Like I need to, because you can be complicit by being silent.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's what's been happening en masse for a pretty long period.
Yep.
Right? People are kind of looking up now in 2019 going, what's going on? How
Right.
come certain things have gone so far? And it's because no one spoke out
Yeah.
about things. So I started to voice some of my opinions a little. It kind of emboldened me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be even more like, okay, wait, there are some things that are going on and things people are saying which I think are actually not dangerous, not in the sense of violence,
Right.
but just in terms of subverting society.
Isn't that's kind of one of the unintended consequences that there's been of the left going so much further left?
Yeah.
Is that they've actually incited in a way people like you and I, who before were kind of silent about politics, especially because of our jobs.
Sure. And non-confrontational too. I mean, y'all's personality type is not one to just start stuff. You know, you're not antagonistic. You know, that's what I find so interesting and inspiring about your tweets is most people that, you know, their tweets go viral, they say some crazy stuff and you're like,
it's crazy stuff.
But you're always this voice of reason. And unfortunately, with the climate that it is, the voice of reason is so shocking. Yeah. But we support it. We know that this is right. Yeah. But it's shocking because our culture has shifted so much.
Yeah. It's why, coming back to your point, it's why the viral deadlift tweet blew up.
Yeah.
Because 9 out of 10 people who are at least aware of the issue, maybe 19 out of 20 people, 99 out of 100 who have been seeing this situation that's been happening in women's sports evolving, most people,
it's crazy.
If you talk to them privately, for sure, most people are like, no, this is dumb.
This is crazy.
This is anti-scientific. This doesn't make sense. This is not fair. But due to various social pressures, most people won't want to voice that, certainly publicly. Right? So it makes it seem like way more people support it than actually do. So everyone's kind of there thinking it, but no one's saying it. So I just came out and posted a video of me doing it and using the same logic.
Right.
And it just blew up.
It exposes the hypocrisy.
Exactly. It just exploded because the amount of messages I got after that and where people were just like, thank you, somebody finally said something and kind of showed the obvious flaw.
What was so great about it is that it was a microcosm of what I think is the core of leftism today, like where it's going. And that's that everything that they're doing and saying, you know, you go from the extremism when it comes to climate or extremism when it comes to gender theory, the commonality between all of it is that it crumbles when you start to take its natural course. So if you take its natural course to its end, and then you take a simultaneous idea they believe in, and you take that to its end, those two things cannot intersect with one another.
A lot of it's contradictory.
You know, it's all contradictory, and that's something that I feel like is the commonality in what they're pushing, is that, you know, those things will eventually crumble no matter what.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to take a really obvious logical fallacy is there's this idea that you'll have, for example, some people saying that there's no difference between a male brain and a female brain, right? That all personality differences between men and women and whatever, that it's all socially influenced, that none of it is nature, none of it is biology, right? Which is wrong, but there's people who say that.
Yeah.
But then some of those same people will also then say that it's possible for a male to be born with a female brain, or a female to be born with a male brain. But that's just a logical paradox. You just said that there's no such thing as a male brain and a female brain. So how could a male be born into, like, one of those things
can't be true.
Right.
One of those theoretically, one of them can be true.
But one of them definitely can't be.
They definitely both can't be at the same time. And there are a whole bunch of different things, like that when you kind of square it up, like, this doesn't even make sense. But making sense doesn't really seem to matter, which is also disturbing, right? It's like, oh, well, I feel this. It's like, well, okay, I feel certain things too, but it doesn't mean everything I feel is correct.
That's one of the things we were talking about yesterday was some of the differences. Like, why are we so polarized, and how we think, how we take in information. So we were talking about personality, and one thing I love about your personality is you take in the information and you don't emotionally react to, anything. And yes, you're basically, you don't have feelings. No, but
I've been accused of that too.
Yes.
So.
Well, you guys have quite a lot of similarities, personality-wise. I'm talking about, big stuff in life that, ideas, okay? Yeah. So if we wanted to, we could all feel very emotional about everything. I mean, all it takes is some kind of propaganda, seeing a child, in a predicament, in a compromising situation. Yeah. I mean, it's an animal. Like, we all are human beings, we have feelings. But one thing I really respect, and I notice as more of a commonality with people center and right, is there isn't an emotional reactivity. So I guess that's one question I have for you, because we're having a really great conversation about that, is personality wise. I mean, what personality traits lend themselves more to emotional reactivity, and why do we see that on Twitter, like, or just political climate in general, people emotionally reacting and then people just wanting to have a logical conversation?
Yeah, well, I'm not a psychologist, but based on my own observation, I think it's a couple of things. I mean, one, you just got a range of different personality types out there. Some people are simply just more emotional and more volatile than other people are. That's just how it is. And then beyond that, I think it's a lot of people are unable to separate themselves from their ideas. Their ideas and their identity are completely wrapped up. So if somebody criticizes an idea or questions an idea or a belief that person holds, they take it as a personal attack.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
Absolutely
So, to take a, and this can go for, there's people who feel this way across everything.
Right.
So I'm a Christian. I believe in God. Okay. If somebody criticizes the Bible or Christianity or religion in general, or believing in God in general, I don't strongly emotionally react to that because I'm a Christian, but I'm not so wrapped up in that being the be all end all of my identity that I take that as some personal attack of that.
Slight against you or something.
That's some slight
I think it's
that
also
person's-
security, though, isn't it? Like you're secure in
In
what
your
you
faith,
believe, so
right.
you're not, you don't feel threatened by somebody believing something different.
It's also a curiosity mindset because I'm as long as the person's being reasonable and respectful, I'm like, okay, that's a conversation I want to engage with.
Yeah.
Because then we can hopefully, after that conversation, if I'm reasonable and they're reasonable, by the end of it, okay, that person may have a better understanding of why. You know, an intelligent person may believe in God and may have faith, right?
Yeah.
And you can tell when people haven't really been exposed to ideas beyond their own because they often have, they'll often say things that make it very clear that I'm like, you know, they'll say something. I'm like, have you ever met a Christian before? Right? They'll say something that kind of gives away, you know, oh, your imaginary friend, your sky daddy, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, how you need to read a book. You need to read some Dawkins. And I'm like, dude, like I went to Oxford University. I'm not an idiot. I don't believe what I believe just because I haven't read.
That's one of my favorite things.
The insults.
Go
get a book. Go to the library.
What's hilarious though is you know that those same people who will talk to a Christian and they'll ridicule them for, you know, they'll talk about God being imaginary and all that. They're the same people that if you told them that some perceived minority group had a sacred rock, that they would be the first people to be like, nobody should touch that rock. But if you told them a Christian had a sacred rock that's part of the religion, then all bets are off. They'd be like, let's stomp the rock. You know, let's
and oftentimes
graffiti it.
they themselves may have some ideas that are more loopy than anything that you any sort of biblical text. Like there's no question you could cherry pick out of any holy book and find verses where it's like, that's a bit weird.
You can make them all look
right.
crazy.
Absolutely.
You can make any religion or any belief system look crazy if you cherry pick.
Of
100%.
Course. But in sort of reality and in practice, if you actually meet different people of different faiths or of no faith, you find that it's not just like an rudimentary understanding of things, right? I'm never going to go out there in public and say, oh, the reason you're just an atheist because you haven't read the Bible, because you haven't got the right education, or because you're stupid. I was like, no, that's so arrogant and condescending.
It is,
and it's just incorrect, right? You can give two people the same information and they can reach different conclusions. Right? It's the same with politics, right? I'd never say, oh, someone's just I mean, it can be tempting for people to do this when they want to like sort of throw mud at the other side. If it's joking and it's tongue in cheek and can be a little bit fun, right? But if someone's like, oh, you know, people are only conservative or people are only liberal because they lack education, or because they're you know, it's like, no, like so much of it is personality driven. A lot of it is community, society driven, who you hang out with, what your parents believe, just your own wiring.
Your experiences.
Your experiences, but more so your own wiring. Like it's actually more influenced by personality than most people realize.
Would like to believe.
It's I mean, if you read what's the book? The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. It's really interesting because it explains that even the most rational of human beings still generally makes decisions and comes to conclusions emotionally, and then you think of logical and rational reasons
Right.
to back the thing that you've actually already emotionally concluded. So someone may just naturally lean more way on that issue, someone naturally leans more that way, and then you've got the impact of confirmation bias, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
then you'll seek out media sources and information and other people who affirm what you already believe. Not a lot of people go out of their way trying to disprove
what they want to believe.
What they want to believe. So you can argue for eternity about which one is the true religion.
Right.
Is there any true religion?
I mean, the argument would never end.
No, and no one can disprove
the other.
No side's ever going to disprove the other. So it's a fun intellectual exercise, and it's good to understand and know humanity. But ultimately, I'm like, you know what? You can believe that. I can believe that. As long as we aren't.
Well, some people like go into a conversation wanting to be open and grow and learn, and some people go into I'm going to change that person, and it's a control thing, you know. And if they can't have that control, it's a tantrum. You know, whereas I love approaching people with opposite, views and having a really great conversation. And I don't go in with it to change their mind. I go into it to see where they're coming from. Maybe I can learn something. And
I'm not so egotistical that I believe that I know everything. So I go into these things willing to change my mind. You know, if I'm wrong and you have a set of facts that, are stronger than my set of facts, I'm willing to be able to change, some part of what I believe if the facts bear it out to be necessary. But that's just, it's not the case really a lot of times when you're talking to the left. So I think what we're talking about with belief systems and religion kind of naturally ties into something I was curious about. And that's, I feel like culture is undeniably something that's sort of being ripped at the seams. And not just the United States and the UK, it's in Europe, it's all over the place, and specifically in places like the UK, and we've had some of it in the United States, but Europe's had, I think borne the brunt of it, is that there's been a large migration of different cultures. So what have you seen from your experience, like culturally, what has the effect been, and like what do you think the net negative or positive is as you look out into the future?
Ooh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow. I think the first thing I would say is, like a lot of things, I think that it can get blown up out of proportion on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got some people, on the right side of the political spectrum saying this is an invasion. This is, there's going to be a complete demographic replacement, and
they use it as an excuse.
It's like a total hostile takeover kind of thing, Because what people often do is they'll take something that's got some kernel of truth in there, but then they'll kind of like push it to such an extreme that it becomes a little bit like unreasonable. But then on the opposite side of things, you've got some people who think you could just import en masse, people from, say, a culture where there are some conflicting values, and not do that infinitely with no limit, and there won't be some sort of fundamental change to the structure, which is also naive.
And I think a lot of people conflate this with race too, which is like it couldn't be further from the truth. It's not about race. This is, like say with Islam, it's not even a race. It could be anything. It's a set of values.
It's ideas and it's values. I mean, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So I grew up in a totally Islamic country, and I can understand and respect why. I mean, there's no churches. Yeah. You're not allowed, there's no church buildings in Saudi Arabia, for example, right? And
were you already a Christian when you lived there?
Yeah.
In Saudi Arabia? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. But if you're an expat living there and working there, or family there, then you can kind of quietly practice whatever you want, and no one's gonna.
Could you openly tell people you were Christian there, or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you wouldn't want to go out in the city with a Bible and start trying to convert
and start preaching to people.
No, you'd get arrested very quickly. So it's funny that someone, I don't know who's in the UK or in the US, like if they adopted that same position that a country like Saudi Arabia adopted, they would be called all kinds of they would be called all kinds of names, right? So it's kind of like a one-way a one-way tolerance, which a lot of people don't really want to talk about because it can be a little bit murky.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've observed, and I feel like I can say as someone who did, live in a country like that. And to me, it's a matter of finding the right balance.
Yeah.
Right. I think most people agree that immigration in general is is a net positive for most places and most countries. It's just most people differ on how much, how quickly, how do we help people assimilate.
I think that's really the question: is how much and how quickly.
Yeah, those are the
it's not a
questions.
matter of race. It's not a matter of anything. It's really about how much, how quickly, so that we can control how society integrates.
Exactly, and its ability to moderate certain ideas. Okay?
Yeah.
Because there's no question that if you take fundamentalist Islam, someone who fully wants Sharia law through and through, right? That's not compatible with a lot of liberal Western values. That's
not at all.
just a fact.
Yeah.
Just like if you go to Saudi Arabia, you can't walk around in a skirt, right? In the street, like go out and wear like a mini skirt.
There's not going to be a gay pride parade.
No,
in Saudi Arabia.
right? And if you went there, you would respect that.
And the difference is enforcement. If you don't respect it, they're going to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's enforced for sure. And some people can say it's enforced too harshly or whatever. But that's just a great example. Would be again growing up in Saudi or being in any other Islamic country is during Ramadan.
Yeah.
You don't eat or drink outside in public.
Yeah.
Just as a sign of respect
for what they're
for
doing.
everybody else's fasting. So I don't need to fast. I'm not a Muslim.
Yeah.
But if I'm there, if I'm in an Islamic country and it's Ramadan, I'm not going to be going out there eating a cheeseburger and chugging my drink while everyone around me.
Right.
is
That would be
fasting.
disrespectful.
That would be very disrespectful. So it's kind of, I think maybe it's because it's still kind of new to the Western world, and people don't really have like a great perspective on a lot of things because there are some things that will clash. I mean, a great example in talking about the UK was I know there was at least one school, I think a couple of schools in Birmingham, in some very primarily Muslim areas, right, where the majority of the kids in the school are Muslim, right, and they wanted to bring in some LGBT
teaching and
Right.
inclusion,
into the curriculum, right, and to me, that's like, well, that's kind of clash. Like,
to me, it did big time. I mean,
to me,
the parents were outside,
exactly,
and they were raised in hell.
Exactly. So those are the kind of clashes that I think people need to just acknowledge. Sort of some of the things and ideas I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's one of those conversations that, I mean, anytime I see anything like this discussed on, I don't know what it's like here.
Yeah.
But anytime it's discussed on British TV, it's within 3 minutes that the shouts of racism.
Yeah, you're racist, you're this, you're that.
It just devolves into a shouting match.
That's what happens here too.
Yes, it happens.
It happens all the time, but it's a conversation that sort of needs to be had.
Yeah.
Right.
In the U.S., one of the key issues is always going to be race. Period. Like in every political discussion, it comes back to race, and it seems to be something that especially the left pushes to the forefront anytime there's a challenge to their belief system. And if you have great points, you're definitely going to get called a racist. I have the advantage of being able to be Hispanic, so I'm able to push those things off. But like, say somebody like her, she can't. She's white, female, like.
You should say you've got some Native American.
Yeah, you could. Elizabeth Warren could do it. Why can't you? You have high cheekbones.
Yeah, you look
That's what Elizabeth Warren said.
You look way more Native American.
Yeah, you could do that. We need to get you a DNA test.
Yeah.
All right.
No, so I'm curious, having lived in Saudi Arabia, UK, and now visiting the States, how do you see the differences between how we approach race as societies? Like, America seems to be obsessed with it when it comes to politics. We can't approach any issue just based on logic. It has to always devolve into some sort of argument about, well, you must be a racist, or
Or victim status.
Or victim status.
Yes.
Yeah. How does it vary between the countries? In Saudi Arabia, it's not something, I'll be honest, I was totally blissfully unaware of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because certainly in the little community I lived in, it was just not a thing.
Yeah.
In terms of wider society, I mean, I don't think, I could be wrong here. I've never got any indication that it's a big thing. Even in Saudi, you've got like Saudis with my skin color.
Yeah.
You've got, much fairer skinned Saudis and whatever. And I've never
Never comes up.
Like I could be wrong. There could be something there that I've just been totally oblivious to because I don't.
I'm not surprised by it. I honestly assume
But
that.
I've just never.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anyone making a big deal about it.
Yeah.
The US I think is the worst with it.
Yeah.
The UK is mostly all right, but I think some people in the UK almost kind of want it to be like the US.
Yeah.
In a weird way, like they've kind of started using some of those same talking
Some of the
points
identity politics.
It's starting to creep in more. It's not as naturally there, and the history is different and everything.
Yeah.
Which I think is a shame because it's like Look, I'd like to reach the stage. Maybe this is my utopian view. I'd like to reach a stage where like it doesn't even need to come up in a conversation.
Me too.
Right.
That's the whole core
where it's
of
just
this.
like because it's one of those things. It's like it's there. People look different, and that's one of the coolest things actually that about human beings is like you can go to different places and be in different places, and people look different, and I was like cool, and like that's my entire life growing up. That's kind of been as far as it's always gone for me, right? I get people who criticize me for it, right? I get people who criticize me for not being more into identity politics or saying that,
or more into your own identity, because like at least for me, like that's not who I am.
No,
it happens to be how I was born. I was born into a Spanish-speaking family with a refugee mom, like, but that's not like who I am.
No, and it's immutable. I mean, see, I think this is a weird thing with the English language is like there's the word pride.
Yeah.
Okay, being proud. And pride has two, it's a shame it's only one word. Because I feel like it really has two quite different definitions.
Yeah.
One of them is being comfortable in your own skin and not being ashamed of what you look like or who you are or your background or ethnicity or anything like that. Or this could be extended to someone's sexuality or sex or whatever, right? You shouldn't be, if you say like, I'm proud to be a man.
Yeah.
Okay. That can, in that sense, that makes sense, right? I'm proud to be black. In that sense, that makes sense. I'm not ashamed of it. I've accepted it.
Yeah.
I am what I am. I'm not going to let people denigrate me for it or anything like that. But there's also another meaning of pride, which is similar. They overlap, but it's feeling good and happy about your own accomplishments or some positive traits that you have, something that you've done. So they get conflated all the time, right? So I can be proud of the fact that I'm an independent rapper who has had some of the successes I've had. I'm proud that I've released my first book this year. I'm proud that I've built my physique. I'm proud I can deadlift enough to break the women's record. Right? I'm proud of these are things. These are things I've worked towards and I'm achieved. And you should be proud of your accomplishments, right? But people conflate them, and they take that sort of pride of something like you haven't done anything. Yeah. And then this also falls into guilt, right? You've kind of got that weird balance. So if I were to sort of take the caricature of someone who, let's take both sides who are obsessed with race. Okay, take someone who's like on the extreme right? Someone who's like someone.
They want an ethno state.
Yeah, someone who's kind of ethno-nationalist or even supremacist or something, right? They'll be talking about my ancestors did this or that, right? And it's like, you didn't do that, dude.
There's honestly nothing more irritating.
It's like
there's nothing more irritating to me. If you do that, I'm sorry, you're a loser.
Yeah, but it's like
you don't even know your ancestors.
No, you're taking pride in accomplishments or acts of people who are not you,
and you've never met.
Yeah, who you're not, right? I'm a man, but I can't take the pride in all of the inventions that men have created in the world. Yeah. Right? Maybe a man built this house. I didn't build it. Yeah. I can't be proud. Well, a man built this house. Like, so I'm.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you can't like rub it in a woman's face. Like, a woman didn't build this house.
It's like, well, you didn't do it.
It's
like the guy who built the house can be like, I built that house. Right? He can be proud of it. And people do that. And then the same thing on the flip side. Like if you go to the far lefties, they do the same, but with guilt. Yeah. Okay. So there's this idea of white guilt. Yeah. Someone's great grandfather, maybe. You don't even know. Maybe was a slaveholder. Yeah. Okay. And so this person now in 2019 is walking around with this burden and shame and guilt of something that they had absolutely
Nothing to do with. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing to do with. So when
And they're generations removed from.
Yeah, exactly. And when I come across stuff like that, I'm like, dude, like, don't apologize for that. Like, you didn't do it.
It's honestly kind of offensive, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's offensive to apologize for it.
Yeah.
Because you had nothing to do with it. And honestly, to me, it indicates that you believe that there's still something about your state of being that is above the other person. That's what it implies.
That's
to
why
me.
I joke that some of the like these SJW types, they're almost like left-wing white supremacists because they still think white people are superior with their whole white privilege on.
Yes.
It's just like
That's what it says.
Yes, it's veiled. It's like it's veiled.
The veiled version
Sure.
is like, I wish we weren't better,
Right.
but we just innately are. So, I want to make sure the world's fair and equitable for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
And I'm offended by that.
I'm like, I'm actually doing all right. Like,
Oh my gosh.
you don't need to lower the bar for me. We'll give you some affirmative action. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, I can compete with you.
I can do this on my own.
I don't need my own special category or anything. And a lot of people can't see this. And it's like, I can see it, and it's the same. It's just two sides of the same coin. Right? I don't do collective guilt. I don't do collective pride.
I'm not responsible for the sins of my father, my grandfather, my great grandfather, and guess what? I'm also not going to take pride in whatever they did. I didn't do whatever they did. Like I can be proud that my grandpa was a good man, but I'm not going to take individual pride in the way he treated his wife, because as much as I respected it, I didn't live his life and I didn't show that respect, because I wasn't married to her. I can take pride in how I treat my wife, so there's definitely, I think that's an extremely valid and valuable lesson for people to take, especially men, honestly. I think that's a lesson that like every man should carry forward, is like take pride in what you do, not in what other people do.
You can take inspiration from things.
And
you can take lessons from things. So you can go, man, my great great grandfather did something terrible. So let's learn from the past. Let's not. I'm going to make sure I don't do that. Okay. Or you can be like, oh, my great great grandfather did something amazing. Right. I can't claim
whatever it was.
I can't claim that accomplishment. But I can be inspired by it. And to me, those are fine. It's just when it crosses that line that it becomes a problem.
So it's funny, you were talking about the race thing, like wishing we can get to a place where you just don't see it. It's just it's not the first topic of conversation. And, some people would accuse that of being like, oh, that's just a fantasy. But, the only time I ever run into this racial stuff, like this is my human experience, my whole life. I grew up in a Hispanic family. My mom spoke Spanish. My grandparents spoke Spanish. My aunts, uncle, the whole deal. Okay. I never saw racism against them. Okay. I never saw anybody treat them poorly if they spoke Spanish or anything like that. The only time I ever had race brought up in my face and become an issue has been with leftists. This is the only time I ever hear about it. I never do in those other circles. And in fact, recently, even moving away from the craziness of California, the first liberal I met in Tennessee was like, hey, they saw me and they thought immediately, he must be a Democrat. So they made a beeline for me. And
That's our deal.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, hey.
They must be. So this is a secret deal. Like we finally have our people. So
We play along. It's fun.
You guys are Republicans?
Yeah, she's convinced
Zuby out.
She's convinced that I must be a Democrat. And she comes up and she says, hey, I'm just wondering, doesn't it bother you that there's just so many white people here? And I was like, nope. I mean, first of all, in my whole life, I've never gone into a room and started taking tally marks. Like we've got one white person, we've got one black person, we've got one Hispanic person, we've got one Asian. There's two whites. There's three. Like that's never.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine having those glasses on in life.
Mindset.
Right?
It's racist in itself. You go into a room and that's what you see is what the person's skin color is, and then you perceive all those perceptions jump in
about privilege,
about what
victimhood.
I need to give this person a lift up in the way that we converse. Like you start treating people differently based on that's racist.
The funniest thing about it all is when people say stuff like that, and I'm like, you're in like rural Tennessee.
I know.
You see what I mean? Like someone will say something, and it's like it would be like me going to. I mean, imagine going to a village in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you bothered?
Black people. Here. Some of these ethnic Nigerians. Do you know what I mean? It's like
what is with this? There's just not enough white.
There's no gender diversity. There's no. I mean, there's none of that.
Yeah, you're there in like a town in Japan.
Yeah.
And you're there like, why aren't there more? Why aren't there more black people? Why
are there all these Japanese people?
Yeah,
because they're Japanese supremacists.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's so silly. That's the thing. Like people do this. I've had people like I put up some footage of one of my gigs I did in the UK.
Yeah.
And so I remember someone commenting on like the fact that the majority of the crowd was white.
Yeah.
I was
why?
like,
Right.
I just don't. I don't understand
number
people
one,
sometimes.
Oh my
why?
gosh.
But then number two, you're also like, do you know where the gig was?
Yeah.
Right. If I go and I do a show in Nigeria,
Yeah.
the crowd will be mostly black.
Right.
If I go and do a show in Japan,
Right.
So and people don't apply that same logic to anywhere else.
You hear that insult with Trump a lot too.
Okay.
Where like based on where he is,
Oh,
if he's
okay.
in a rural like area and he's got a super white crowd, people will be like, look, see, only white people support him. And then when he's in an area that's more, like diverse, and he's got a crowd.
The black people were paid to be.
They were paid
Oh
to be
yes,
there.
exactly.
And if, like, say
That's not
in-
racist or anything. I mean, just telling people like you
can be
can't
bought.
think for
You
yourself.
must have been bought.
You must have been bought.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's nothing more racist. And then when he was in Texas recently, he had a very Hispanic crowd.
Okay.
And same thing, either they were bought or they're stupid or mentally handicapped.
It's
So
incredible.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's amazing.
Wow.
I mean, it's weird. It's so odd. And what's weird is that so many people are blind to it.
Yeah. That's the weirdest part to me. Is
People
it
are
seems
blind to it.
obvious.
Yeah, to me it's obvious, and maybe it's obvious because I'm not left wing.
Yeah.
So, and I've never been.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of seen that side
Yeah.
of it, right? You have a lot of people who think that the entire concept of racism is right wing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? Like, you
Yeah.
don't think that there's...
No.
You don't, like, most people, period,
Yeah.
are not racist regardless of their political leanings.
Yeah.
But if you don't think there's any such thing as, like, left-wing racism, then you live in La La Land.
A gigantic
Like,
bubble.
it's
You live in a
you're in a
gigantic
huge
bubble.
bubble.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very there. And
Yeah.
it's funny when you see people start waking up to it.
Yeah.
Right? When you start seeing
Yeah.
someone who, okay, they kind of go against the grain a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're getting this, like, really venomous kind of
Yeah.
hate
Right.
from their own side oftentimes. Like, you get this with a lot of, in the past 5 years, you've seen a lot of people who are naturally more liberal leaning.
Yeah.
right.
But they're willing to call out some of the excesses.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as a result...
And some of them have shifted right.
Yeah.
Some of those people.
Some of them have not moved, and the world has shifted left.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? It's-
Yeah.
sometimes
Absolutely.
That's an even better way to say it because
you don't-
there's
you
a
don't
lot of
need-
truth to that.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
always need to move.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who was considered liberal in 1998,
Yeah.
if they didn't change any of their views, if they just
Right.
stayed with those same positions,
They were
now-
Republican.
They'd now
Right.
firmly be
Yeah.
Republican.
Right.
Yeah. JFK would be a Republican
Yeah,
now.
firmly. Right?
100%.
So it's like, it's possible for people not to really change that much, or even
Yeah.
moderate in some senses, but still
If the
somehow
world
end up-
changes,
yeah,
that's-
like, oh wow, how did I become the guy who's
Yeah.
out here? With some of the stuff I've done. I mean, I've had people refer to me as being controversial, and I'm like, when did I become controversial?
Yeah.
Right.
What?
I mean, you've had the same beliefs
Yeah.
before Twitter. I mean, you didn't change.
No.
Your integrity has always been what it is,
Yeah.
and that's what so awesome about you is you can feel that
Yeah.
in your personality. So many people are opportunists and they kind of shift with the wind, and you're a grounded individual. Speaking truth, and it doesn't float with the wind. It's grounded.
Grifter, they say.
Grifter.
Grifting. I think I
haven't
told you.
changed my views, but 10 years later, it's like...
I told you,
was like,
I think
okay.
that's the funniest thing, the grifter accusations. Like,
Right.
there is nothing, at least in my experience, there's nothing worse for my career than being open about politics.
Yeah.
But I knew that going into it. It's about
Sure.
integrity.
And I'm sure the
about
rap
fighting
world is
for
the
what you
same,
believe in.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
although I do believe a lot of rappers are secretly
Yes.
Republican.
They are.
But-
Zuby and I talked about this before.
yes,
I do-
yes,
My
this is true.
experience has been that a lot of rappers actually like Trump.
Okay.
They respect that, like, he does not.
And
I
they're
haven't
pro-
decided
they're
if
very
we can-
pro
I haven't
2A.
decided if we can cuss yet on the show, but basically Trump doesn't give a shit. about what comes out of his mouth. You know, like he will say what he's thinking, period, and you know what you're getting. It's transparent. You know if he's, you know, if he hates something, if he loves something, and does he say it in the best way? No, he doesn't, but he says it. You know, and so there's not this, you know, lying veneer in the front that nobody really knows what he believes. He says what he believes. And I think rappers that I've talked to respect that. They respect it, like he gives no and he just says what he believes.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And even policy-wise, I mean, a lot of rappers are very pro-gun rights, want lower tax rates. You know, there policy-wise, there are certain things that naturally kind of lean more
to the right,
technically. So yeah, I don't know. It would be fun to interview those people in private and see what they're
how you people. I would love to do a private poll. You know, I think
private rapper poll.
The problem is the world is so cynical at this point that like there's almost no such thing. You know, like it's private anymore. Like I almost don't believe in privacy at this point because I feel like every call, every text, anything I do, I feel like is not really private. You know, there's something somewhere that's able to access it. So.
And then sorry, one more thing. And then the funniest thing that happens is you'll start getting accusations, as I have, and lots of other people have had this, that you're only going on right-wing podcasts and talk shows, and then like none of the left-wing ones.
No,
they're
not open to conversation.
They won't invite anybody.
No,
they won't invite you. And have you noticed?
It's not very tolerant.
Places like CNN, no offense to the Republicans that go on CNN, okay, but I'm going to say something a little controversial here. Have you noticed that places like CNN, the Republicans they have on to defend policy, to defend, you know, the belief systems and the president and all these things, they're always the worst representatives of the Republican Party. They're always people,
and that's not a mistake. I mean, we know this.
They use people who are terrible at defending anything that really don't, I mean, there's not a whole lot of depth to them, and they're sort of retreads of the failures of the past. You know, they're the perfect representatives for somebody like Mitt Romney if he was running for president. They're terrible representatives of a party that's changed and has become a true, you know, big tent party. We have such a wide range of beliefs now, you know, on the right, but in the Republican Party in the US, I've never seen a wider range.
Okay.
You know, like being able to, I had an experience this year going to the White House and, you know, being able to go to a dinner where, you know, the president and a room of Republican, you know, the largest donors in the Republican Party, senators, congressmen, all stood up, gave a standing ovation to a gay couple who were supportive of the president. That would not have happened 15 years ago.
No.
And, you know, so that gives you an example of how much the party shifted.
Right.
Because there had to have been a shift in some way on this side of the aisle for that to fit, you know? So as much as, yes, the left went super far left, the right did move a little bit.
Yeah, I think the right also moved more libertarian.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
This idea
I agree 100%.
of, you know, even if you take a group that has a lot more influence and numbers in the US than say the UK, right? Say like evangelical Christian types, right? The sort of religious right, as people may say. I think a lot of those people, I think the mistake that was sort of made on that end, and I do kind of remember this. I wasn't into politics at all at the time, but I do remember when it was more the religious right that was kind of deemed as being
the leaders of the party.
Well, also deemed as being
intolerant.
Yeah. Right, being intolerant and trying to force their values down other people's throats. And I think over time, that has, for various reasons,
waned.
Yeah, it's waned to a more libertarian approach, certainly in terms of policies. Like, don't conflate the personal religious beliefs with the policy.
Outward policy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a live and let live.
Yeah, exactly.
Type deal.
Just moderate more towards that live and let live.
That's sort of in a lot of ways how I feel like, even from like non-super religious perspective, like, you know, when it comes to like gay rights, like I'm not gay, it doesn't affect me, you know, like go get married, you know, I'm happy for you. As long as you're consenting adults and you're happy, you know, like it's not my job to get in the middle of it.
Yeah, and that's the nuance so many people, so many left-wingers miss.
Yeah, they don't get it. They don't understand.
Because they think, they struggle to understand the idea of someone being able to hold a belief, but it not totally influence their politics.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone, say you take someone who's a staunch Muslim or Christian or Jew who says that they don't for religious reasons they don't support gay marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got a lot of people on the left hear that or interpret that as they hate gay people.
Yeah.
Or they want to discriminate against gay
The
people.
emotional
Right.
reactivity,
And that's, or it might just be a naivety. It's like, no, that's not what they're saying. If based on that, they want to set all the policies or something, then there's going to be a conflict. But if they're just saying, like, from their personal standpoint, you know, they think, okay, legally, and I think this is the position that most people on that kind of side have now. It's like, okay, legally, kind of whatever, you know.
We know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, from a social or a personal perspective, they may not approve of it.
Yeah.
But
they're not trying to be
Right.
arbiters of what's-
they'll generally kind of shrug and be like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, if that makes you.
What I've found is even the ones who are on the furthest end of that spectrum, where they believe it should not be the law, that it shouldn't be legal, period, even those people do believe that there should be something like a marriage that
Like a
allows
civil
you
union.
that allows you to have the same rights as a marriage, and they just believe they should be called something
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
Again, you get into gender dynamics, and that's what changed in Japan is the gender dynamics. So, you know, I think that's another thing that we have to look seriously at is how are we approaching gender dynamics in the United States? Are we setting up a system that is going to lead to continuing to be able to replace our dead, you know, and be able to have the birth rate that we need to sustain and be prosperous? And on an overall scale, I have concerns because right now it seems like something was put in the water 25 years ago that now we're seeing these adults who don't really know who they are, you know, and they don't have the same innate instincts that I've seen in society for my whole life. So, you know, I'm not sure what the effect of that's going to be, but I know in places like Japan, that's one of the things.
I think it's a value shift because, and it's not saying that there's anything wrong with like a woman not wanting to have children or pursue a career, but it's about there's belief systems around that too with women in particular. Like I remember growing up and about to go to college and then being like, you know, you have to do this, like that you won't be able to do it with a child, and you know all of these things. Like there's certain belief systems in society about women having children, kind of like it being demonized and like you could do that later. And some can't do it later, you know, and they're miserable and they're unhappy. And, you know, that's something to be considered too.
Yeah, we have a guest coming up soon
I
about
get called a
that.
misogynist.
Yeah. Yeah, just let her say.
So I can say that, and then you can talk about race because I can't, and then you can talk about Hispanic issues because I can't.
Because you guys can't.
You know, there's just so many rules. It's just hard
I
to.
will identify as a woman.
So anytime there's a female issue, we'll just let Lena talk. That's been my plan anyways. I didn't openly say it to her, but that was my plan going in anyways, was let her touch the women's issues. But, you know, I think on an overall scale, growth-wise, like when we're talking about young people, because that's my primary concern is young people. Like they're going to be the people who inherit this mess, and they're already on track to. And I see, you know, a lot of warning signs popping up. So what do you think for young people is the most important growth message they could receive about how do they personally, as they're growing, be a catalyst for a world that is not this way?
Wow.
I mean, that's a big question. I'll let you think about it. I'll let you think about it for a second.
I have a more directed question that kind of piggybacks off that a little bit, because culturally, you know, just talking about like what you're doing, your music, it's so impactful, and the lyric content, the things that you're talking about. You know, I have a question for you. What do you think society would look like now if so many of the young people that have listened to like gangster rap, right, for so long, those rappers were rapping about the stuff you're rapping about, like not talking about smacking hoes and, you know, getting that dollar and smacking a bit, you know, any of that, you know, all of that stuff that's in there. I mean, there's some crazy stuff in there. I mean, what do you think that has, that effect?
It's enormous how much crazy stuff there is in gangster rap. That's a line from a video, a Gucci Mane video I directed. It's enormous. You don't want to know what's enormous. But it's,
and if you have to say it, is it really?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. If you have to say it, I have questions.
No, but I'm serious. Like I have to think, and I'll let you
what
answer.
What would the world look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Have you been asked that before?
No, I've never
You
been
get a
asked
question award.
Yeah. It's also one of those chicken and egg things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, perhaps if certain societies and communities and neighborhoods promoted and pushed those positive values more, then the music that would come out of them would be
That way.
a lot
Yeah.
more positive in that way. Or if,
That's a valid point.
Right.
or if fans consumed and supported those kind of messages and those kind of artists to the same degree
Right.
that they do some of the gangster stuff, then people would naturally start to shift, even for economic money-making reasons, towards more of those kind of artists. And then there's also the idea of, well, how much does music, hip-hop, and entertainment in general, we all know that hip-hop is a very influential societal force. How influential? I don't know. But given that people on a daily basis tell me that my music inspires them and motivates them and encourages them and makes them want to do better,
Right.
then if music can have a positive impact, it's only logically makes sense that it can
I
also
would say it
have
has a
Right.
tremendous
negative
impact.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Tremendous.
even just in terms of what is normalized or what is considered cool, or what young men or what young women should aspire to, right? Should a woman aspire to being a side chick and having 3 baby daddies?
Right.
Probably not.
That's what
Yeah.
I would say no.
Yeah.
But there's people who think that and don't
Right.
have an issue with thinking that, and that idea has come from somewhere. It might not have been from the music; it may have been what their mother did.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they think,
That's
oh,
true.
no
There's
problem.
even an idea about
So-
security with it too. Like I have 3 different sources of money.
Yeah.
And that's
There's-
something that you see.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ideas out there. So to answer the question, I think it would be better.
Yeah.
I do think it would be better, and I wouldn't just put that down to hip hop. I'd put that across
the
entertainment.
board.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
entertainment in general, and ultimately it's a balance. I'm very anti any kind of censorship or forcing anything in any direction. But I do think it's an interesting question. Like, if there was just more
How do we incentivize
wholesome
it?
content out
Sure.
there in general, and it was as good quality and as catchy and as
Right.
interesting as the stuff that has
Sure.
more negative messaging, then maybe that's something that we can all certainly individually people can aspire to and reach towards. I mean, I haven't listened to the new Kanye album yet, but I know Kanye West today, as we're recording this, has just released his Jesus is King album, where he's
You heard me listening to it.
yeah, I haven't listened to it yet, but sounds like
Yeah.
he's gone
Yeah.
pretty gospel on that.
Yeah.
And that's having some influence on people. I'm
Yeah.
seeing even just
It
on
will-
Twitter.
it will
Some
have
people are
an
like,
effect.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
like
It does have
This
a
is-
cultural effect.
Art
kinda cool.
is powerful. I mean,
Art
it
is
really is.
It has
It's
a crossover effect too.
yeah. I mean, it is, and it's also, in a way, programming. Words.
Yeah.
If you're in a trance state and you're listening and you're vibing out, like those words are penetrating you. They're
That's a
they're
great point.
coming into your mind. They're coming into your spirit. So if I'm listening to something really,
Kanye's a good
horrible.
example.
Yeah.
You listen to him saying
Right.
100 times Hallelujah. Or on the flip side, you listen to Rick Ross and he's talking about like selling drugs in Miami, 100 times.
What are you going to be
Which
thinking
one's
about?
positively
Right,
affecting you?
right. It's also the mirror
Yeah.
exposure effect,
Yeah.
So I mean, you're listening and you're getting these impressions constantly. What are you putting in your body? What are you putting in your mind? So
Yeah.
I think that everybody should go download Zuby's album, support what he does, especially if you know any youth. If you know kids that like hip hop or rap, or send them
can
his
people go to
stuff.
buy your music?
Yeah, where can they
sure.
find you?
So teamzuby.com is where you can buy everything. My music is also on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, all the usual services.
And you get these beautiful hats.
Yeah, got these hats.
I want the camo
Got a
one.
lot of merch.
Yeah, I want a hat too. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a trade. We're gonna get our grow up mugs soon. We'll
Okay.
send you some mugs, and we get Team Zuby
I'll
gear.
hook you up with some hats. The camo is currently sold out, but I've got others.
Oh, you just got turned down, Landon.
It's sold out.
What's
You just
gonna?
got turned down.
It's sold out. I will get more. And then I'm on zubymusic.com is my main website. I'm on all social media at zubymusic, ZUBY music. And my podcast, Real Talk with Zuby, is also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere.
There's a great episode of it too that I heard that I want to highly suggest to people. There was this girl you were talking to. What was her name? she was really she was fantastic. I can't remember her name. Oh, it was Matriarch.
Oh, yes,
That's
yes,
her.
yes, yeah.
No, so they did a great one on his podcast. It was really cool.
Of course.
I really enjoyed it. You know, even from just like a pulling back, she's not my wife, like just as a fan, because she is my favorite female artist. You know, outside of that, so she's you know, I like that episode a lot. So I heard that you guys are doing something together. What are you guys doing together?
We were recording an interview.
No, not the interview. There's something else that
we
two
have
are
a
doing
song
together.
we're working on together. Yeah, I mean, I'm just astounded at, if you've ever heard Zuby just like free rap and the kinds of words and how quickly he's putting them together. I've never heard any rapper do this. I mean, ever. And it's insane.
Your brain was busted?
Yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but you have to upload at some point, like just an acapella video of you just do it. Like, it's unreal. And what he can come up with just writing wise in such a short amount of time, I was so impressed by. So it was really fun to work with him, and I don't know, we need to find a video director
now, because then I could have put him on the spot and been like, give us a grow up rap.
Yeah.
know, like what?
So
yeah, you guys should find a video director.
Yeah, I don't know any, but
I don't know any. No, so I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie, I did hear a little piece of the song and it's pretty dope. So I hope you guys, you know, we'll put that song out on our page too when it comes out, and I hope everybody downloads it. So
we want to thank Zuby for coming and being with us, and you know, we loved getting to know you better while you're here. We've had so much fun, and can't wait for you to come back and visit us.
Thank you so much.